Hello again, and welcome to the Jamaica Mix podcast, where we dig into the issues shaping Jamaica's democracy, governance, and public life. Of course, I'm your host, Richard Blackford, and today I want to take a look at an issue that has been percolating certainly over the last 24 hours, and that is connected to the hurricane disaster, specifically this whole question of how the relief supplies that are being sent in by, all and sundry, particularly people from the diaspora and agencies, etc., who are sending stuff in, how those are handled, and the issue of security, ensuring that the items that are sent in actually reach the people to whom they are designated. Now, again, if this is the first time with the channel, then I ask that you subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like the material, and certainly share with your friends. Now, specifically, this issue has to do the noise that we are hearing comes from a situation where dancehall DJ or artist Buju Banton, um, whose real name is Mark Myrie, sent a cargo of relief supplies. Apparently, however he orchestrated a cargo carrier loaded with relief supplies that came into the Norman Manley International Airport. Now, I woke up this morning to a tirade on my social media channels where Buju is raising hell. Now, if you know Buju, Buju is not a man who is, he is known to speak his mind, to raise eternal HE2 stick. And so there was an expletive laden tirade from him on different social media platforms, where he was basically charging that a significant proportion of the aid items that he sent in on that cargo flight was pilfered supposedly at the airport. Now, the flight landed at the Norman Manley International Airport, and according to him, the 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 cargo, when removed from the aircraft, was placed into warehousing at the airport. Now, Daryl Vaz, who is the minister responsible for certainly one of the two ministerial individuals responsible for this whole management of the hurricane recovery effort. And let's give Minister Vaz his due. He has been working assiduously at getting stuff moving. I was particularly impressed with his approach when he got the two airports reopened, to ensure that we didn't lose too much time. So this whole thing, to some degree, not in its entirety, but to some degree, fell sort of on his plate. And the minister, in response to Buju's claim, basically pushed back to based on his investigation, the items were transported from the aircraft onto a truck and reportedly delivered to a warehouse unrelated to the airport facilities or arrangements, delivered to an airport, a warehouse rather, in Spanish Town. And so, in terms of Minister Vaz's explanation, what he's seemingly suggesting is that if there was any pilferage, that pilferage would not have taken place at the Norman Manley International Airport, and could possibly, have been elsewhere, meaning where the cargo was subsequently transshipped to. Now, Buju, of course, would have none of that. I mean, the minister was addressing a press conference, and the minister went out of his way. He basically said he thought he had a good relationship with Buju. Buju know him personally. I mean, it's Jamaica, where people celebrity. Minister is a celebrity. Buju is a celebrity, and so them basically know one another. The minister's argument is that Buju could have called him and give him a heads up in respect of the shipment of his cargo, and the movement of the cargo. Now, that may sound good to the minister as brethren and brethren, so to speak. But in the context of the movement of cargo into Jamaica, there is a designated approach to dealing with this thing. If the cargo comes to the Normal Man International Airport, so the custody of the items remain in the airport's custody until the broker, because a customs broker have to clear the cargo. And so the question that one would want to ask is, why would Buju need to call the minister? Because hundreds of people are shipping stuff into Jamaica. Do all of them need to call the minister to ensure the smooth movement of the cargo when it comes in? How many people how realistic is that? I can understand that as a minister say, if know Buju well and Buju know him and him have a number, etc., etc. But in all practical terms, is this the way that this thing ought to be run? That's a question that I have. I understand the minister's position because Buju's tirade is not going unnoticed. And in the context of a disaster that Jamaica is grappling with and the management of it, the whole logistics of moving cargo in and out of Jamaica, the international community is paying attention. What we do know, and I'm speaking as a person who is into the movement of cargo from time to time in and out of Jamaica, the problem of pilferage is not a new one. And so while I understand Minister Vaz trying to defend, the portfolio, so to speak, albeit that this is really just an extension for him because it's technically not his responsibility. He has done his job in respect of his ministerial portfolio. This has to do with the whole airport management and the cargo handlers and so on and so forth. And so, but I do understand the reason for him getting involved, because what the minister is trying to do is to sanitize the issue so that it doesn't have a negative blowback on the country with respect to how people see the security of their hard-earned monies that they invest into material to send into Jamaica, and that it doesn't get into the right hands. This is not a conjecture position from the perspective of someone who is shipping goods into Jamaica. And so the ordinary Jamaican who is sending a barrel, not necessarily, not only exclusive to the airport, but to the ports as well. The security of the transship, the movement of the cargo once it comes off the vessel, is one that needs to be addressed, because the issue of pilferage is a massive issue. There are hundreds, thousands of complaints over the years with respect to this kind of situation. And in the context of goods being shipped in the kind of emergency situation, it literally opens a bigger door for stuff like this to happen. In fact, it is one of the fear now that a lot of people have with respect to sending goods into Jamaica using these facilities. And so from this perspective, I can appreciate the minister's position of saying, well, Buju, you could have called me. But is that the way that we run the kind of operation that the country has to have run. The minister have far more important things to do, far more important responsibilities under his ambit that is critical to the recovery effort. Granted, perception is largely much more dangerous than reality. And for a number of people, the perception that they have of the security of the resources that they have put into sending into stuff into Jamaica, the perception that these are going to be pilfered, especially when it is highlighted by someone of the stature of a Buju, it calls the whole security aspect of this, shipping of goods into question. And so I understand the minister's position that the reputation of the country is being, drawn and quartered by virtue of Buju's claims. The question is, somewhere in the equation, somebody's lying, because according to the minister, the goods weren't tampered with. The question that one asks is, if these goods are shipped, there should be a manifest that says exactly what makes up the shipment. And so if at customs clearance, the customs people responsible for handling this the clearance of this cargo, one side or the other, both at the officialdom end, this is the customs officers at the customs department, and the broker, there should be a packing list. And if when the packing list is checked, the items were shipped, then somebody thieved them. But if there wasn't a packing list, how does one determine what was or wasn't in the cargo? So there's a lot of there are a lot of gray areas with respect to this thing. But above everything else, it not look good. From a Jamaica standpoint, it does send a very negative signal. Sometimes, though, we need these things to happen so that people pull their socks up and do the work that they are employed to do. Is there has there been reports of this kind of pilferage in the past? Absolutely. Has there been reports of this kind of pilferage in the course of the last 2 weeks that this kind of activity has developed? We don't know. Not everybody have Mr. Vaz's number, as he points out, and not everybody is a Buju who will raise eternal hell. But either way, it doesn't look good. It is not the best display of Jamaica in this one of our darkest hours. And so I'm just hoping, that we find a way to quash this. There are undertones of political issues. Buju is known to have stumped for the People's National Party in the lead up to the most recent elections. And of course, the JLP has won. People are trying to attach political issues or political thinking onto the development. I don't have enough information to support or deny that. But it's unfortunate that even in our darkest hour, that this innuendo of politics still raises its head. I'm disappointed that the thinking is out there, again, perception, that the whole relief effort is being politicized. Again, extremely unfortunate that in our darkest period, we cannot get together and operate as a mature country where we all look in the same direction because the objectives are the same for all of us. How do we work together to get Jamaica out of this conundrum? Tell me what you think about what I think. Is somebody lying? And is it important enough that we find out who is at this point in time? how do we fix this so that people are not turned off who have, stuff, uh, relief material that they want to send and don't want to have it being subject to this kind of pilferage. Let me know what you think in the comments section of this thing. If you like the video, hit the like button. And, of course, if you haven't done so as yet, subscribe to the channel. But let me know what you think. And of course, I'm gonna always use the opportunity to encourage you to support my Art for Shelter project, where I'm trying to dispose of my art collection. Visit my website at yaadmedia.com. That's YAAWD media.com, and pick up a piece of artwork, whether it's a print or an original painting. 30% of the proceeds we are going to be putting into this Art for Shelter project. Your support is much, much welcome. Until the next video drop, this is Mr. B saying more time.